Okay, here we are. Another show in the Fox Den. It's going to be fantastic. I'm so glad I am here, as you all know, and thank you for all your well wishes. I've had kind of the week from.
Oh God, did you notice her with the holes in her nose in her holes in her nose? She still looked goddamn good for crying out loud. Just to tell you, Rima, it's on your Facebook.
That's beautiful. So we
Yeah.
have a new feature that StreamYard is allowing now that when you have your guest on the show, that they are and have the capability to stream like we stream to our venues, they can stream to their own venue. So it actually works.
So
Yay.
for those of you who want to come onto our show, make sure you sign up with StreamYard and you can go right up. Send it to your Facebook page or your whatever page you
Or
want to
your
send it to.
YouTube or your Instagram or
Twitch. I don't
wherever
know if we can do
they
Instagram yet. I think it's on
promote.
its way, but
Oh,
you
Twitch.
never know.
Or,
Uh-oh.
oh,
Sharon's back. Shh, don't tell
I
anybody.
know, I know. All right, so we are going to get her on ASAP. So I'm going to play her bio video. She's going to be with us. You're going to love her.
Yep.
This week in the Fox Den with Gina B and Mama D, we welcome Dr. Rima Bonario. She is a dream weaver, soul coach, and wild heart healer with 30 years on the path of conscious evolution. She is a respected thought leader, speaker, and teacher for women seeking to stand in their personal power while remaining open-hearted and connected. Rima specializes in the arena of personal sovereignty and the challenge many women face in maintaining a healthy balance between caring for others and caring for themselves. Rima's best-selling book, The Seven Queendoms, A Soul Map for Embodying Sacred Feminine Sovereignty, explains how women can use the energy, majesty, and noble nature of the queen archetype to consciously create a life they love. Her coaching, workshops, online courses, sacred travel journeys use the transcendent power of myth and archetype, ritual and ceremony, and soul shadow work to help her students cut through energetic clutter, dissolve emotional baggage, and form wildly fulfilling habits of attention. Rima is the founder of Bloom Fine Egyptian Oils and the Sisterhood of Anointing Priestesses, where she teaches the lost temple art of anointing to reclaim feminine power. She is also the co-founder of the Art of Quantum Living, LLC, which trains and certifies people on the 21-day shadow work practice called the Quantum Living Process. Rima holds a doctorate in transformational psychology and has studied with master teachers in body-based energy work, trauma first aid, and other body-based trauma-informed practices, the tantric art of sacred sexuality, and the temple art of anointing. She is passionate about helping women experience personal wholeness, relationship harmony, and material abundance in their lives. You can learn more about Rima and her work at rimabonario.com. We welcome you and everyone to the Fox Den. Welcome, Rima.
Loving the music.
Thank you. Thank
Welcome, darling.
you. So excited to be here.
Oh, that's fabulous. I just watching the video every time. I made the video, but as I was doing it, I had so many questions, and I really desperately wanted to read the book. And I have to apologize to people, and they know that when I get the books, I always read them. And this is one I started reading. I got only to there, but I was just so miserable all week, so I could not focus. And I want to focus. I want to give a book its just due. So I will read it. I absolutely will read it because we need this. We need this,
Yes.
And yes, because we are queens. I have a little sign up there somewhere that says "Born to be Queen." so,
Yeah,
so
you were.
I am born to be queen. But I love, even looking you up. There were so many. You have great pictures that I can use to make these videos, and it's just like you definitely embody what you're doing. you
Mhm.
know and then you come on and you look like this, and it's like, oh, and you have your feathers, and you have, what is this that you're wearing? Is it a
It's a
horse?
dr- it's a beautiful dragon I got in Rennes-le-Château in France. on a Magdalene journey. And there's a little story behind the dragon there that maybe we'll get a chance to get into as we go along in the interview.
Oh, definitely will.
Oh, I love it. I love it. So, yeah, so this is the book, okay, The Seven Queendoms. And I mean, first and foremost, all right, what is self-sovereignty?
Sovereignty is really all about the notion that we get to make decisions about our own lives. We get to govern ourselves without undue influence from others, from something outside of ourselves. And a lot of times we think about that in terms of our relationships with other people. And there's another layer, though, that's more difficult to see sometimes when it comes to sovereignty. And that's the unseen leftover residue from our childhood and our conditioning, right? And the ways that we grew up and the, limiting beliefs that are hidden in our subconscious patterning. And we are often self-sabotaging and not living out of our sovereignty because we're still being run by these unconscious beliefs and patterns and old messages that people fed to us, even from infancy.
Yeah.
Oh, 100%, 100%. I just want to put these up here, acknowledge everyone. Hi, Colette. Hello, and hi, June. Haven't seen you in a while, June. And Sharon has been gone for a while, but she is now back on Facebook.
She couldn't stay away from me.
Anna. And yes, we love you too, Sharon. Welcome, everybody. You guys know, share the show. Please share the show. Now, this is not your first book. I did see that you have.
Yeah, so I've been a contributing author to several anthology books. And this is my first full book on my own that has really collected my teachings that I've been offering for the last several years, and really my life's journey for over 2 decades of work on myself, 3 decades, really, if you really want to be serious about it. And all the ways that I've come to understand what it means to be a sovereign woman, to be a woman who is radically alive and just really free from the past conditioning and the ways that we sometimes subvert our own power with others, and still finding a way to stay in close connection and relationship with the people that we love the most.
Do you find that men feel like threatened by you?
No, not at all, because I think that men felt more threatened by me before, when I was living out of my masculine power. And I was spending so much of my time generating in a masculine energy. And what happens is that the masculine energy, which is a really outward focused energy, it thrives on competition and challenge. And when you bring a lot of challenge into the space, the masculine energy can't help but respond with more and more and more challenge. And the problem for us as women is that when we live like that, number one, it fries our energy circuits because our bodies run energy differently than a male embodied person, which was a whole new thing to me. I had no idea about that. And then the other problem is that we as women are more aligned with our yin nature, and we are never going to be able to out young the young, I mean, so
because I had to do that for so long.
For so long, right?
Working in the male dominated construction field.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And so we sometimes try to become better men than the men, and we're never going to do that, but we can be better women.
Yes.
That's why I need this book, because it's really hard for me to get out of that mindset, because yes, we have been taught this, programmed this from forever.
Yeah.
It's sad, isn't it? I mean, I look at your pictures and I could just see how free you are, and it's just, I want to show a couple of them, because you're just you're absolutely stunning, gorgeous woman, but your soul shines through, and we have the nice risque picture, and, but it's
Facebook almost had a heart attack right there.
But I mean, just look at how just in tune.
Gorgeous. The
And
thing
you're
is,
gorgeous.
you're gorgeous inside and out, and it's like
Yeah.
it
And
just shines. Like Gina
yeah.
says, it shines
And when
through.
you say queendom, I mean, it's like, you are a goddess, you are a priestess, you
Where were
are
those pictures
all of
taken?
those.
Those were taken at Calico Basin, not too far from where I live here in the Las Vegas Valley. And what you're talking about there, what you're noticing there is what it feels like, looks like, and what we can receive from a woman when she's deeply embodied and connected to the pool of life force energy that springs forth from every female body on the planet. We actually live in a shamanic vessel that is designed to create life and heal life in ways that our male counterparts cannot do. And the thing that our world is really suffering from right now is a lack of this nourishing life force energy that comes through the doorway of the feminine archetype and the feminine energy. And because we are female embodied, which is different from archetypal energy, all of us have male and female archetypal energy within us. We can access the female energy a little more easily. And when we align with that energy and we bring our truth into a space from a deeply embodied feminine energy, there's nothing that can resist that or be in contradiction to that in the space. And this is how we succeed in creating a world that works for all, by really calling on the power that we have as women that is unique to us, rather than continuing to emulate masculine power patterns that have gotten us into this place of diminishing returns. And that's not to say I don't love my masculine energy, and I certainly love men.
At
We
times,
need it.
right?
Yeah, of course we do. And we're just in a time of being deeply out of balance.
Do you think?
Yeah.
The whole planet, but hopefully, I think things are going in the right direction. But I'm going to show a picture here, and it's the wrong side. Now, these are pictures that you have in your book that represent your 7 queendoms, which would be amazing oracle card deck.
Yes.
I don't know who your artist is, but I don't know if you
It's
do.
the amazing Jenny Han. She is an evolutionary artist, and she's a dear, dear friend, and you'll love everything she does.
Oh,
So I encourage you to go check out Jenny Han, Art by Jenny Han. She's amazing. And yes, there is a plan for some oracle cards to come along with this deck. And right there, what you're showing is a picture people can find on my website, where you can go to my homepage and take a little quiz to see which of the 7 queen archetypes you're currently doing the best with. And we're in the process of creating one where you're going to be able to see which one you aren't doing very well with, so that we can support you in actually growing more into the queens that you're not holding so well.
Right. Now, so like that, I was going to say that these are the kits that you can get, through the website. Now, are you going through because there is a chapter for each one. Now, are you all of these? Is this how this works? That you
That's
are?
such a great question. Yeah. So really, the queen archetype is so all encompassing that when I was doing my own sovereignty work and I was wanting to create sovereignty in my own life, rather than just trying to go at it all at once, I decided to break it down into bite-sized chunks. And so I ended up working on these 7 areas in my life, which were physical sovereignty, sexual sovereignty, energetic sovereignty, emotional sovereignty, spiritual sovereignty, mental sovereignty, and then my dharmic sovereignty, or my service in the world. And those became the 7 queens. And so it allows us to get into a relationship with a particular form of that energy that really works to help us with those levels of sovereignty. And I've created for myself an inner Queen's Council. And all my students who do this work with me, especially in my annual program, my year-long program, I take us through each of these 7 queendoms so that we can develop for ourselves a sense of what does it mean to be in self-sovereignty in all of these areas of our lives.
Wow. So now how do you do that? So would you suggest read the book first and then sign up for the course? And how does that work for someone? Because now you're on the opposite coast, she's in Canada. How does that work for us?
Well, a great place to start is by getting the book from Amazon and taking yourself through it. This is not just a sit back, read it, put it on the shelf kind of a book. It's
See, that's
it's
why I didn't read it.
it's a
I
it's a
need to work it.
Right. It's an adventure. It's an actual experience that includes some information about my personal story. I wasn't going to put that in the book at first, actually. I was just going to write the how-to part. And then I realized,
Yeah.
I'm going to have to need to talk about my own experience with all of this. And then we go into the actual seven queens, what they're all about, and there are exercises and journal prompts. There's instructions for anointings, how to work with different kinds of energy practices that will support you in connecting to each of the queens. And then each queen has two shadow expressions where we can be either overexpressed in a particular energy or underexpressed in that energy. And so I teach you how to watch out for those. It's really, really powerful. And so that's a great place to start. And then I do small programs throughout the year, and helping in each of those programs, women usually get on my email list and then they find out what I'm doing. And in December, we open enrollment for my annual signature program called Queen's Court that goes on for the full year.
Queen's Court. We need to
Mhm.
have Queen's Court. I love that. I really do. It's like it just feels like I don't know, like a group I want to be a part of. Like you have a home. It feels homey. It feels natural. It feels real. I mean, I read just a little bit of it, and I would go to different pages and looking at it and whatnot, and skimming and stuff. And I really do want to read it, but I did have that thing saying, wait, and I have to trust my gut. I have to trust my instincts, because I do a lot of times I read tons of these books, every week for the show. And I do cover to cover, and then I have my sections of books I'm going to be going back, rereading, reworking, taking segments out. And, so this is probably going to be in that section, you know, because I do need, we do need to have that balance because I put this in the video, guys. If you didn't see the beginning of the show, go back and watch the video. You have a thing where you balance between, taking care of ourselves and taking care of others. And that is like, I think one of our key uh, dilemmas in our lives because we put ourselves second in that category.
Yeah, and sometimes very last. That was a lot of my story is this idea that I grew up in an environment where we all basically orbited around my dad, and my mom wasn't terribly empowered in the household. And I sort of looked at that and said, well, I'm not really signing up for that. So I became kind of a tomboy and learned at a very young age that masculine energy was king, and that's where I needed to be. And so I, struggled having boyfriends early on because my energy just didn't read like a girl, and so,
Yeah.
so that was a bit of a challenge. And then eventually I fell into being kind of promiscuous as a way to try to get attention because things just weren't functioning correctly. I was in the wrong energy and I didn't even know that's what was happening. But eventually I just started trying harder and harder to achieve all the things in life that I thought we were supposed to have. Be a good mom, be a good wife, be an entrepreneur, run businesses, and then even like trying to do my self-care in this like superwoman way, check all the boxes, do all the things. But it was still very much of a push, push, push kind of a life. And I just burned out. And
Go. And then when you stop, you don't know what's
You
happening.
you sound like you're telling my story.
Yeah, it's a
I
lot
was
of
like, oh my
women's
God.
story. A
Yeah.
lot of us trained up to do that. And when we do finally stop, we're exhausted. We're so exhausted. Sometimes it takes us a year or two to recover. And nobody wants to get to that point if we can avoid it. And what's on the other side of it, what is something I didn't even know was possible, which was how to be powerful while being soft and embodied and really moving from flow and from deep guidance and making sure that I actually actually nourish and nurture myself first and do my spiritual practices first before stepping into my day. And in the beginning, that looked like just giving myself 5 minutes, 5 minutes of focused intention before I moved into my day. And, women with young children who are juggling jobs and all of that, it can be really difficult. I know that it really can be.
Right. So
And
now,
you aren't doing anyone any favors.
right. But you have also like a duo here. All right. So you're doing spiritual work and you're also going to college for like a doctorate and, you know, it's that to me, that's like two different worlds.
Well, yeah. So I was married with a daughter and in my doctoral studies in a THD program, also running two businesses at the time.
Oh,
So, it
Wow.
was like a cuckoo time. And one of the things that happened during that time period was that I just watched my time with my child sort of slipping away. And I made a decision that I just was going to stop working when she got home from school. And I just had to trust that the work that needed to get done would get done and at the level that would be acceptable. And it did. And what I discovered, as I discovered in many areas of my life, that when I wouldn't try to get everything to that last 100%, it was more than good enough. And that was one of those limiting beliefs I was talking about earlier, that my value was tied to my productivity and it was tied to how perfectly I could show up. And perfectionism and productivity are two of the things that get in the way of us living into our sacred feminine sovereignty.
wow. That's a lot. Now Colette, this is a good thing here because now Colette is she's running ragged. Her husband has a lot of medical issues, so she's the one taking care of everything, and trying to make sure that everything gets done. And that's what we do.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
when you have to do all these things though, because they can't, your husband, your significant other, your whatever, and they can't do for themselves. So you have to be that superwoman thing. How do you let go of that superwoman and get all this done? I mean,
Well,
besides the trust thing that you were just talking
So,
about.
so hopefully you get a glimpse of how important it is to stop before you completely crash. Because let me tell you, if somebody is relying on you and you are pushing yourself beyond what's possible, you are risking your own capacity to care for them by pushing yourself too far. And and so what I would say is it's important to start slowing yourself down in every place that you can and looking for support from your community, your friends, your family, if you have a faith community in your life. And asking for help is one of the most important things that women need to learn to do well. And and really shift into the energy of deeply receiving and being a good receiver. And when we move energetically into that place of being a good receiver, we don't only get help from the human people in our lives, but we get help from all manner of beautiful energies from the universe that swoops in and supports us in getting what we need.
Yeah. Yeah, we have a lot of friends, we do these metaphysical type shows all the time. And we're always saying, we need to meditate, we need to connect, we need to do this and that. But it's like there's a time for this and there's a time for that. And it's like these little allotted times, so you get up in the morning and you meditate and you ground and you shield and then you go kill yourself all day. And then you come home and you ground and you meditate and you shield, right? And it's like, but you're not going out and killing yourself. You've got a nice flow and you're going with the energetic wave as opposed to fighting it.
Yeah, it took time for me to transition from being in that push, push, push all the time state to moving into a place of deep trust. I mean, you have to really build your ability to trust in the universe, to trust yourself, to trust other people. And that can be challenging if we grew up in an environment where our needs, wants, and desires were negated or completely ignored, or we were told, you don't need that, you don't want that, you can be fine without that. And So what we've learned to do, rather than wanting to appear weak and bothersome to people, is to build ourselves up in our mind that we are a strong person and a strong woman, and we don't need that kind of help and support. But then secretly we become like really super resentful sometimes, or we just, we start to drain away. Life just loses its vigor and its color and its delight and its joy. Forget about juicy sex. I mean, come on. There's just not time for any of that stuff. I mean, and these are the things that keep us alive and make us magical and magnetic and allow us to bring joy to the world. Who's going to do it if we're not going to do it?
Yeah.
Well, that is true. That is true, and a lot of these things that you're talking about, because a lot of people, I mean, you can get your course, you can do all this and that. But once you know this and you've learned this is people feel like, well, I have to buy this and I have to buy that and I have to, and I have to and I have to and I have to. It's like it's free for you to want to change your life. You know what I mean? It's a practice. That's free. It's your mindset. That's free will.
And I actually encourage women to choose to invest in the support they need. We have been taught that somehow investing in ourselves is selfish, or it's not allowed, it's not okay. Everything should go to everyone else. And let me tell you, that is actually being a servant, not being of service. And those are two very, very different things. And what we're seeking to do is to be the queen of our lives. The queen archetype, see, she takes care of the realm. She is responsible for the realm, but she never does it alone. She has a whole host of people serving her. And she is one of the best receiver models that we have. Like her whole, she's got everything she needs in order to be able to get the job done. And she doesn't blink when she has to ask, to tell the people in the realm what they need to be doing. And actually, one of my favorite examples of how this works comes from nature, and looking at bees and the queen bee. And she starts out as a regular larva, like any other larva. But once she's chosen, they choose whoever's going to become the queen bee. Her job at that point is to just eat. And all the other bees go around doing what they do, gathering the pollen, and they make royal jelly, it's called, and they feed her. And she eats and eats and eats and receives and receives and receives. And her job is to grow as big as she can, so that when the time is right for her to move into leadership and take over responsibility for the hive, she can lay as many eggs as possible and ensure the future of that hive. That would not happen if she suddenly said, "Oh no, that's, you all have sex. No, I don't need that."
That's so true. But what a great analogy. That is so true. I love that. Oh my God. Is that story in the book? Because
I'm sure it is. And listen, we need to think about what we're teaching our children, what we're teaching our girls and our boys about what's expected of them as they grow up. And the biggest gift you could give your daughter or granddaughter, and the boys too, is for them to see that it's not right for all of these burdens to be laid at the feet of the women, and to not be supported, whether we're supporting each other as women or whether we're inviting our men to step up and support us more fully. And in fact, that's some of what's gotten some of our gender relationships a little bit out of whack, is that, men actually get charged by giving, whereas the female body gets drained by giving. And if we are not filling ourselves, that's what fills us, is receiving, then we aren't going to be able to give in the way we want to give. And we give from our hearts. So our hearts are made for giving. And we just really need to be in this relationship of understanding we must replenish the well, and not try to give from an empty well, but instead give from a place of luscious overflow. And when we do that, everybody gets to enjoy it so much more.
Yeah, it's kind of like, when you go through these different phases in your life when you are really happy with everything, and then all of a sudden it's like one thing happens and then it's gloom and doom. And then and you can choose to live in that gloom and doom, or you can, be there for a little bit and then get back to enjoying things. I get guilty of that too. Like Mary Jane says, she gets guilty of those things. We all do. That's part of human nature.
Well, life is a series of cycles. We're not always going to be up and we're not always going to be down. But what we want to do is build practices and habits of attention that allow us to be resilient and allow us to bounce back quicker and more fully when we go through those down cycles, and that we have support there when we need it. A lot of times I see women do this where they might have a really nice community of support when they're single or when there's a struggle happening, and then suddenly they get partnered and they're really happy and they let go of all their girlfriends, or they get busy and they let go of their connections, and then one of those hardship moments arises and they're lost without their community and they have to start all over again. And so we really need to recognize the importance of being in sisterhood with each other, even when times are great, and celebrating with each other and nourishing those connections. And I do this online. My programs are offered almost exclusively online, although I am starting to do a little bit more in-person work again. And it's amazing how deep the connections can go. We have women from all over the world sitting in our circles, and it's so beautiful to hear the stories, like you were saying, Mama D, that we're all going through this. Like, these are
Yep.
our stories. This is our story, our herstory, and we get to be here for each other as we grow and evolve and really come to cherish ourselves and each other.
Yeah.
And
And the
our
thing is, the more we
leaders
tell our story, the more we tell our story and what we've gone through, what we've been through, somebody out there might be thinking they're going through the exact same thing, think, oh my God, I'm the only person doing this, but you're not. There are
Right.
other people doing it. Though it's hard for some people, me, to let people into that side of me, So I'm like, but it's like you just sort of like the tomboy that was me. Oh, my camera just went nuts. The tomboy that was me. I was really good at climbing trees. I thought boys were nothing, were only good for beating up on. And then I grew a little older and found out they were, the promiscuous side of me was like, hello, So it's like I went through that. You went through that. So I was like, okay, it's not
We
just
all go
me.
through
So
that.
that
Yeah.
helps. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's a
It's
major
an
plus.
opportunity for us to shift the way we value ourselves and to reject the valuation that is put on us from outside, and instead connect to our divine right, our divine energy within. And it is a spiritual practice. I mean, my doctorate's in transformational psychology, and it's actually a spiritual psychology, because we have to know the truth of our being on the inside. Like, we need to know that we are a living expression of the divine on earth. And that's where we get our right to govern ourselves. It's not because somebody else says we should or could, or our parents give us that right, or someone else approves of us or loves us. We have the right to be self-sovereign because we are a living, breathing, walking expression of divine life force energy on earth. And we have not only that right, but that responsibility to use that energy in a way that is nourishing and nurturing for all of us. And we can't do that if we're not providing that for ourselves. We have to be in alignment.
Right. That's
Yeah.
what I was saying. Just looking at, when I was going to sit down to try to read the book, and I always just kind of skim through first, and just because something will always stick out at me. And what stuck out was all these pictures, and I'm like, wow, she is this fully and wholly. You are embodied with this, and you can tell, it's like it just comes off the page and you feel it.
Well, I'm so glad that translates. It certainly was a journey for me. I did not start out like this. And, I was certainly guilty of all the things I'm talking about here for many years. And
Yep,
I
yep,
don't even like the word guilty because that's just how I was trained. I was trained
Yeah.
up to believe that's how I needed to live. And I was really lucky that I had the resources and the time to go sit in other women's circles and learn from women who were my elders and who had experience in these different arenas so that I could start making a change for myself. And boy, oh boy, I can tell you my whole family was so grateful I went on this journey because it just changed the tenor of our household completely. Women have that power.
yeah.
Yeah.
So just explain what shadow work is, and then how this is incorporated with this.
Sure. So, shadow work is the practice of beginning to look at those unconscious patterns we were talking about before. So, there are parts of the way that we live, the way we see the world, the way we judge the world, the way we judge ourselves that we aren't even aware of. That's why they call it being in shadow. That term was coined by Carl Jung, who's one of the preeminent psychologists and psychoanalysts of the day. And years ago he studied with Freud and then went on to really expand that body of work in modern psychology. And so shadow work is a structured practice that allows us to start looking for those areas that we can't easily see, where we've fused our identity with some belief that is not the truth of who we are. It's a limitation. And usually that shows up because somebody in our space does something that irritates us because it's mimicking or mirroring the part of ourselves we don't want to see, we don't like, we don't accept, we don't even acknowledge is there. So when we're judging other people negatively and harshly, very often that's because we hold similar possibilities within us and we don't want to accept that. So sometimes it shows up by Freudian slips, they call them, or slips of the tongue, or we might use negative humor.
Triggers are going off left and right, and you could
Exactly.
just
Yeah. And
yeah.
so when you're triggered, you can choose to use that as a portal for your own healing. And what we've learned in modern psychology is that when we're triggered, when stuff is happening and we are feeling judgmental towards people, or something's happened that's really upset us, usually about 90% of that upset is really tied to our past. It's triggering our fear response, our amygdala response, the alert system that goes off that says you're in danger, you're in danger, you're in
Fight
danger.
or flight. Yep.
Exactly. And so our whole nervous system gets out of whack and we have this big response. And then sometimes, like a couple days later, when we're calmed down, we think, gosh, I really don't know why I got so upset about that. Well, because it was reminding you unconsciously of something from your history. And so basically, I like to say it like this: somebody comes into your space and they step on a landmine that they didn't put there. And the
They
landmine,
don't know what hit them.
exactly, it goes off. You now blown up their leg and you've blown up yourself in the process. And they're kind of over there going, what in the heck is that?
Yeah.
And we're all focused on the leg without realizing, no, we had this to begin with. And so we have to do our work to clean up these areas to make ourselves safer for ourselves and safer for others. And once you get really, really good at shadow work, you start to get some space between the stimulus and the response. When something happens and you learn how to take a breath, you learn how to think and get curious instead of furious and wonder what's really going on there. Ask for the space and time you might need to go process that with a friend, or if you're sitting in a circle or have a great teacher. And those are the things that then allow us to come back to our relationships and actually resolve things based on what's currently happening, without all these layers from our past sabotaging everything that we're trying to create.
Makes total sense to me.
Yeah.
Now, Colette says, is that why people get anxiety, depression, and bipolar?
Well, sometimes those are more about imbalances in the brain that are actually have to do with brain chemistry. What I'm talking about here is more about our psychology. So we have a neural net that has all these connections of how our neurons wire together. And the more that we think a thought, the stronger that connection becomes. So if we have an unconscious belief, for example, that I'm not lovable. That was one big one of mine. My parents were fans of physical reinforcement or physical punishment. Grew up in an Italian Catholic household and back in the day, right? That's just what they did. And so, my little mind couldn't understand why they did some of the things they did that hurt so much. It hurt my body. It hurt my heart. It hurt my soul. And so in order to try to make sense of the world, my little girl decided, well, this can only be happening because I must not be lovable. I mean, the people who love me hurt me.
Right.
And so that can only mean I'm not lovable. And so it took many years to actually even uncover those beliefs and then begin the process of healing them. And I might feel down or low, but wouldn't necessarily lead to clinical depression or anxiety or bipolarism.
Mm-hmm.
It's sort of a different animal, but it completely affected my beliefs about, as soon as I found that belief, for example, I could see immediately how I had attracted my whole life was a series of the people who love me, hurt me, in all the wrong relationships, doing all the wrong things, making all the wrong choices, actually being attracted to people who would want to hurt me because that's what I knew.
Yes. And when you found somebody that was good, you ended up pushing them away.
Right,
because you couldn't understand it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We do that all the time. And so when we go through the work with the 7 queens, this is how we come into sovereignty, where we let go of these old patterns of being overexpressed or underexpressed in a particular queen energy. And we learn how to come back to center and begin to make conscious choices about our life experience.
Yeah.
100%. And see, we all need this. My
Yes.
phone is listening. I don't know why all of a sudden my phone starts listening. Love you, Google. But that's exactly what we all need. I mean, I don't know anybody that is not going through this, doesn't go through this, or has this in their life at all times.
Yeah, I'm really, really glad that shadow work and the practice of becoming conscious of our unconscious thoughts, habits, and of attention is beginning to gain popularity. And people are starting to do this work. And the developments and advancements in brain science are really helping. The understanding of how we have different attachment styles that come out of our childhood and how those can affect our relationships are really helping. And actually, I'm getting very excited because I'm starting now. It's going to be coming out at the end of April. I'm starting to create things specifically geared towards how we can clean up our relationships, because this is one of the main areas where our sovereignty gets subdued, and we don't know how to be in relationship with people as though they are sovereign without giving up our own sovereignty. We sort of want to go under them, or without having to be somehow trying to be over them and control. And the truth about real sovereignty is that my sovereignty isn't threatened by your sovereignty. We can be sovereigns together. And these are the kinds of relationships that I'm interested in creating. And so people who haven't done shadow work are often in relationship distress and relationship dissatisfaction. And my passion is helping women and couples, and whether it's your beloved or your parents or your children or your boss, to move from relationship distress into relationship harmony.
Beautiful.
Nice.
And I don't know anybody that doesn't need that. Well, you muted yourself, Mama.
Yeah. So if people want to hear more about what it is that I'm doing, and they themselves know that there's some places in their relationships that they could improve upon, if you pop over to my website and take that Queen's quiz or use the free gift that I'm offering to all of the listeners today, you will get on my email list and you'll hear all about that. And let me talk a little bit about this gift, because I think it's such a great way for people to get started with this idea of becoming a better receiver. One of the things that I was doing on my journey was trying to figure out why I was having such a hard time actually receiving. And as I was in that inquiry, I discovered that there were 6 things that I was doing instead of receiving. The first thing I was doing was giving instead of receiving. I just felt better. Oh, let me just give. I was just in that habit. Then when I would get drained, I would start expecting to get things to come back to me, and if that didn't happen, I would start demanding for things to come back to me. All 3 of those things are not the energy of receiving. So the other thing we can do is we can reject what's given and become really critical. Oh, I wouldn't have done it like that, or that's not exactly how that would show up for me. So we reject it. And then as we're coming around the other side of this, in the book, there's a diagram showing this, we can end up in an energy of longing, like we're wishing and longing for the thing. That's not the energy of receiving. But the hardest one for me to let go of was the energy of earning, where I just felt like if I just put in enough work, I would earn that was coming back to me. And the energy of earning is also not the energy of receiving. That was the hardest one for me to let go of. And so if you go to the link that Mama D is going to drop in the chat there, you can sign up to get a free 30-minute masterclass on the art of receiving, where I go over all 6 of these blocks and what you can do to dissolve those blocks and become a better receiver. And I give lots of examples of how that shows up and what you can be doing instead of get in, so that you can move more into receptive energy.
Bless you.
That's why I mute.
She has to clear the sneezes.
Everybody's got to sneeze.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Yeah. So we've been putting up all those things. Now I'm going to say for our audio only venues, it's rimabonario.com, and that's RIMABONARIO.com. The free gifts are www.the7queendoms.net/dissolve the blocks. Okay. And then the other free gift is the https://bit.ly/queen archetype quiz. Okay, so you can go check all those out. If you are listening just to our audio only, go to our YouTube channel and watch the show, because you want to see how gorgeous this woman is. And you want to see the beautiful artwork and the 7 queendoms. Now, I also want to talk about your oils. Okay.
Oh, man. These are so delicious. What an amazing technology this I found in Egypt. I also do sacred travel journeys and take people around the world to different things. Yeah, this is
I love this picture.
One of my favorite spots on earth right there.
I want to go there so bad.
Oh, we're going back in 2024, so you should stay connected, because we're going to do an amazing trip sailing down the Nile on our private dahabeah with our private chef, and going to all the temples and doing ceremony and ritual. And so, and also sitting with my teacher, Gamal Abdel, who's a 5th generation alchemist and a secret keeper of the ancient mystery school traditions. And his family's been working with these oils for many generations. And these are the same oils that were used by the priests and the kings and the priestesses back in ancient Egypt. And what's so powerful about these oils is that they work with the chakra system. And as you might guess, each of the 7 queens is aligned with a particular chakra. And this technology is a body-based way of shifting our energetic dynamics. It's almost like an energetic homeopathic remedy for the ways that our chakras were damaged by our upbringing. So we're working in my programs. Everybody gets these oils because we need to work with the body as well as with the mind, the heart, and the soul together. It's a full system expression. And And so these oils are just the most amazing technology that can help you bring a sense of calm and connection and a return to your true essence just from daily use. And I mean, as you know, we're often looking for the easy magic bullet thing. This is this closest that I have found to something that's as simple as sort of popping a pill and being finding some healing, is working with these high vibration plant medicines on the skin, in the bath, diffusing them in the air. Oh my gosh, just life changing.
Right. Now some you can ingest and some you can't.
Yeah, I don't ingest any of these oils. I bathe in them, I put them on the skin, and I use them in diffusers. I don't that's a whole nother realm. We don't need to ingest them. we can
Right. But
we
I'm
can
just saying
receive them through
in
this.
general, because a lot of people do all these different, I mean, there's a lot of essential oils out there, you know, like, and people do like oregano and they say, well, you can ingest that. And it's like, it's horrible.
Yeah,
You know,
I don't find that to be necessary for my journey. And you know, one of the amazing things too is working with the sense of smell, because there's nothing that will shift your brain chemistry faster than using your olfactory senses to change
Yep.
your chemistry.
Mhm.
Very
Totally.
true.
Yeah. I used to have, I don't know where it went. When I moved, I lost it. The you would love it because it looked like an urn that you would see in Egypt, and that's what I used to burn my oils in. I have no idea where that thing is. I'm sure it will pop up, you know, and it had a little bag of all my oils with it too. So
Yeah,
it,
it sounds divine. You know,
it's somewhere. It's
I
somewhere.
really believe that we were meant to have on the planet the things we needed in order to thrive, that we weren't sort of sent here to this dimension without an opportunity to actually hello Leah.
You've got a couple of people
Yeah,
on your Facebook page who are watching.
good to see you.
Leah is one, and Bernadette is another. She's
Yay.
watching through your Facebook page.
Share the show on your pages, you know, for Rima. And if you guys like her and have worked her programs, put them in the comments and put them on up there, and you know, praise her. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you so
I
much.
have that feeling. I have that feeling for sure. It does look totally amazing, and it feels good. You know, it's like it's a good feel good book too. You know, like some books are harsh. This is nice, soft. Like you know what I mean? It's like it's just really nice, and the artwork is amazing. I mean, look at this artwork in this book. This your artist. What was her name again?
Jenny Han.
Jenny Han. Oh my God.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true. The book is a full color book, and it does take you on a complete sensory journey through it. You know, we are meant to be beings that get to live a luscious life. We are meant for this. And so we want to experience life fully through all of our senses. And you know, we don't want to be living from the neck up. I mean, I spent far too many years like that, and it was not enjoyable. And this, I can just tell you, as any others who've done this work can say, it's a living in this way as a deeply embodied woman who is completely connected to my soft, sensual nature and the guidance and intuitive capacities that come from the feminine. Just, it changes everything.
That's fantastic. Well, we're about five before we get into another big subject, because there's a lot of questions to ask you, quite honestly. But I want to just take our little break, have Athena's video come on, because I think this crystal, I think you're going to like it. Do you work with crystals as well?
Yeah, absolutely. I always have my little crystal right here for when I'm on calls, and yeah, always in my space. And in fact, all my oils come with a crystal gemstone roller ball on the top to amplify the oil when you put it on. So yeah.
God. Okay. So this is our Athena. Again, she usually comes on live, but we have her videos. So I got to make sure I
She's
do
in
this
mama duty
correctly.
mode.
All right. So we're going to play her video and what she thought was a perfect stone for this show. And I think it is.
loves. I am Athena Barry, Reiki Master and author of award-winning book Raise Your Vibes. Raise Your Vibes Oracle deck are crystal cards and creator of crystalreikihealer.com. And I am so grateful to be back here for another week on the Fox Den Show with our Crystal of the Week segment. So let's dive in. For this week's show, I really felt called to the energy of ruby fuchsite. This crystal merges the energy of ruby and fuchsite in a powerful combination of energy for supporting a strong emotional body, self-value, and supporting our hara, the earth key for strong physical life force energy. Activating the heart and the root chakras, this crystal allows you to value your feelings, honor forgiveness, and bring your physical and emotional body into a sense of harmony and balance so you can tackle any of life's more challenging moments, we'll say. Ruby is number 8 in my new Oracle deck, Raise Your Vibes Crystal Cards, and used as an affirmation card to give you courage and strength to see life's lessons as blessings so you may forgive yourself of past mistakes and embrace the beauty of who you have grown to become. Ways you can use this crystal: it can be worn as jewelry in crystal grids under your pillow because we spend so many hours there. It's wonderful. It's a wonderful time to align with its energy. And as you know, I love to keep one in my bra, but a pocket will do just as fine as well. And it's great to hold in your hands or next to you while you meditate. You can also connect with this crystal with an ASMR Reiki session free on my own YouTube channel, Crystal Reiki Healer, after the show. And of course, I love to leave you with a wonderful affirmation to help you connect with your crystal's energy. And for Ruby Fuchsite, it is: I honor the person I was so I may grow into who I know I am meant to be. And that wraps up our crystal segment of the week for Ruby Fuchsite. Thank you, ladies, so much for having me. I really hope that this has brought some value to your show. Many blessings. Mwah.
Yeah, remove that. And hey, so was that a perfect crystal or what?
Oh, yeah. Delightful.
She always manages to find the exact crystal for for each show. And I'm going to fly this again.
Yeah, I do love it. You know what? I do have a list of questions, and this thing does stick out. Okay, and you made this quote in the book, and it says, "We can live from a scar, not a wound." What does that mean?
So, just like we were talking about the importance of doing shadow work and seeing where we have these unhealed moments from childhood, what if we aren't attending to those unhealed moments? We're walking wounded and we don't even know it. We're walking around just, leaking energy, unconnected to our sense of sovereignty, sabotaging ourselves and our lives with others, having all these landmines that people step on without us being aware of it or them being aware of it. And we're really in that very wounded, often state. And so we feel a lot of pain a lot of the times. When we do the deeper work to go in and find out where those wounds came from, what it was that didn't get met, what need we had that didn't get met, whether that was a need for safety or for love or comfort or confidence, whatever it might have been. And we learn how to give that to our younger selves, to the parts of ourselves that are still feeling the pain of that past experience. We start to heal then, and so the wound heals over, and it's not as though we pretend it never happened, because that would be denial. And
Right.
instead we recognize that, yeah, that's a part of my history, that's a part of what happened to me, but it's healed now. And so I have the scar that reminds me of the lesson that I received, and the beautiful gift I've given myself in healing that. And I'm no longer sitting in that pool of hurt or pain or trauma that is no longer running my life now.
Exactly. And like kind of what you said at the beginning of that was also, if you keep something inside and you think, oh, well, it doesn't bother me now, and again, it's like that trigger thing that we had talked about earlier. It can be years down the road and someone will say something and you will be triggered and you will remember that, and you can bite their head off or react, and God knows how, or be hurt or be angry or be depressed, or it could set you spiraling. Who knows? If it's in there and not attended to, it's doing damage.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It'll be a landmine for somebody, some unsuspecting person to step on.
Right. And sometimes we think that the problem is the people in our lives. Like if we just get a better job with a better boss, or get better neighbors, or a better partner, we can't usually get better kids. But problem is, everywhere we go, there are people that have legs and feet and that can step on our toes. And it's really up to us to clean up the space so that we aren't a walking field of landmines.
Right. Well, wherever you go, there you are. Mm-hmm. So you can't geographically get away from yourself.
No.
Yeah.
You're always there. Just for purposes of open thing, I have put in JennyHanArt.com into the chat line, so that if you want to check out her work, amazing, by the way.
Yeah, so, please go see what Jenny's up to.
You can amazing. Tell her that she's got a new follower.
Yeah, she's this is just, it just reads Oracle deck.
I'm really lucky. I'm going to be seeing Jenny in April. I used to live in the Kansas City area, and I'm going back to Kansas City to do an event there at the Unity World headquarters there in Unity Village. And so she will be there. Her art is always there. If you're in the neighborhood in Kansas City and you want to come by and see us, Bernadette knows her well. You can join us there, and it's a beautiful event we're going to be doing all day.
And that's in April?
It's on April 15th, Saturday, April 15th. Yeah.
Beautiful. So check that out, guys. And if you've got your emails, if you signed up and you are on the email list, you will have all this.
Absolutely. And you can find me on Facebook and connect with me there. And I always share what's going on my Facebook page as well.
Yeah, Facebook, Instagram, all the things.
I'm mostly active on Facebook. I do have quite a few things on YouTube, which is another great way for you to get a chance to sort of explore some of these teachings. And then, of course, a little bit of Instagram here and there. I'm not a super, super duper social media person, but
I'm not. That's why I have her.
That's what I'm for. That's why she keeps me around.
I'm glad you're going to be there.
Yay. Good.
Yep. Well, I still have to get my passport and get them to allow me across the border, and then once they allow me across the border, it's gonna be a lot.
I grew up in Canada, Mama D. I grew up in London, Ontario. Yeah.
That my son is there.
And I have a whole following in Canada. I have a number of students there, and people in the Hamilton area and the London area, and one right now out in Alberta. And so,
nice.
We'd love to go there. I'm hoping to get back to Canada this summer.
That's awesome. Do you ever come to Pennsylvania?
Haven't been out to Pennsylvania recently, but I do get, sometimes I'm on the East Coast a little bit here and there. In Florida, I've been down to Florida quite a bit. California. I love to teach in Hawaii, and
nice.
Take people to Egypt. Yeah, and then the next thing that I'm working on. So next year we're going back to Egypt in April, and then I'm also working on getting a group together to go back to Italy, to the island of Capri, where I went for my 20th wedding anniversary. That was such a great, great experience. I had
Oh,
no
that's
idea I
nice.
was going to run into the goddess all over that island. And it was such a profound experience. So,
Very nice.
Those
Very
are
nice.
my two bucket lists, right? Well, there's three, right? Because I want to go to the castles over in,
In the UK.
Ireland and Scotland and things, and well, anywhere there's castles.
definitely get to Glastonbury if you're going to go to the UK. It's amazing there. Yeah.
Yeah, and then I got to get to Italy because that's my roots.
Who knew? Yes. we have more to talk about.
Oh my God, no kidding. I'm a finished
Just wait till you read that book. You're going to be like, oh,
Can I do that?
yeah,
Is it okay? I
absolutely. Yeah.
have your number. No, I don't take advantage of it, but I have it.
Yeah, you better just call me up. Let's chat.
Oh, cool. I can't wait to read this. I can't wait to do this work.
I'm gonna have to go. I'm gonna have to do some retail therapy and go shopping for it. Because generally I get the PDF file because shipping to Canada is like ridiculously weird.
Yeah.
And so I'll get the PDF file, but I love to have the actual
Yeah,
book. It's
and
like
this
it's
book
different.
you'll want to have in your hands because it does have it's very intentional in its vibrational frequency, and
Yep.
you can order it from Amazon. So hopefully you won't
Yep.
get dinged too
No,
badly on
so long as so long as it's on Amazon.ca, then I can get it, which I'm pretty sure it is.
Well, if she's got a
Usually
phone
is.
out there, then I would imagine definitely.
But you let
Yes,
me know if you have any trouble at all.
I will.
Yeah. Oh, my things stopped. I just see Mama D's putting all the links in there, left and right.
There
So
you
that's
go. A quick question. It probably won't be a quick answer, but what was it that first attracted you to Egypt that sort of made everything explode?
Wow, that's a really good question. So I was having a moment where I could see the brilliance of my beautiful daughter, and we were going to a New Thought Church, a Unity Church at the time, and my family, they were just really I was like the church cop every Sunday morning, trying to get everybody up and go to church. And, I left the Catholic Church a long time ago, so we weren't doing that thing anymore. But this was a really positive spirituality and positive form of Christianity that really honors all spiritual traditions. So it was really working well for me. But my husband and my daughter were just like, oh, I was like dragging them every Sunday. And so finally I just stopped wanting to be church cop. And so I was asking sort of asking for guidance. How am I going to guide this child spiritually without having a path, not wanting to indoctrinate her in these old ways that weren't working for anybody?
Mm-hmm.
How do I support her with that? And one of the answers that came was to take her to spiritual places where she would just have her spiritual powers activated.
Yeah.
And so then Egypt came right behind that. That was back in 2012 or even earlier. And I thought, yeah, and I looked it up and I, saw all of it. And I just thought, at that time in our lives where we were, I thought, oh, man, there's never going to be any way I'm ever going to be able to go to do a trip like that. Like that's just so out of what I thought was possible for me. This is again, some of what happens when we haven't really learned how to become good receivers and be able to call into ourselves what we need. And so it took several years. And at this point, I was now running a women's circle out of my basement. And I read the book Lineages of the Codes of Light by Jesse Ayani, which I recommend all the time. And that was such a profound awakening for me. I mean, I had to put it down every few pages because it was just like,
Oh yeah.
And in that book, there's this sort of lineage of the feminine codes coming to this planet, starting out there in Egypt and then taking this journey. And I made up my mind that I was going to take that journey. And when I mentioned it in my group that I really wanted to go to Egypt, it was like somehow like this fire just zipped around the group. And everybody was like, yes, let's go, let's go. And so I called up this woman that I knew and planned a trip. And several people jumped on board and said, yes, they would come. And my job was to bring a number of people. I was supposed to fill up half the trip. And then they just sort of ended up backing out. And so it was just me and couple other women that came. And the second woman was brought by the one. I brought one and she brought one. So,
Yep.
but my mentor, she filled the rest of the trip up, thank goodness for us. And we went, and I understood once I got there why it happened like that, because I needed to go for myself 1st.
If
Not
you'd have had all those people with you, you would have felt
right,
like,
as a
yeah,
leader. I needed to go and receive first, right? This is
yeah.
the whole thing. And I got there and I got off the plane and just began crying immediately. And the gentleman who picked us up, I just was like, I don't even know why I'm crying. He says, well, this is what happens when you come home. Welcome home, goddess. And I was
Nice,
just like,
nice.
oh, just blown open. And every step along the way, I started hearing the voice of the goddess for the first time in my life, like just like it's your voice. Like I had little moments like that and other times in my life, but it started really in earnest there. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was back in 2017. I turned 50 at the foot of the Sphinx.
Oh
That
my
was
Oh,
my
nice.
birthday present to myself. Yes. And then she said to me, you need to come back, bring my daughters home. And I was like, really? Are you sure? I'm not very good at this. And she was like, bring my daughters home. You need to come back. And so I've done now I've been there now 4 times. So this one in next year will be my 5th trip to return back. And
is there a limit to how many people can go, or is it
yeah, I
just?
don't fill up. I don't do big trips. I do boutique trips, no more than 14, 16 people, because we ride on a private yacht, a private dahabeah. It's not a yacht. It's a dahabeah sailing vessel, the same style that they used back in ancient Egypt.
Ooh, nice.
And it's pulled by a tugboat. So we don't have big engines making a lot of noise. It's gorgeous and beautiful. And we get to be in our own little spiritual bubble rather than getting on one of the bigger river boats that has like 300 people on it. That's not my style. So, so it's
Yeah.
it's the most,
It's the best way to experience and get the value out of it.
yeah. And the thing that they're never people that you just can't, you think you're prepared for what's going to happen, but you
Right.
can't know. You can't be prepared for what
And
really.
with that small of a group, you don't, you as the leader of it, don't have to spread yourself as thin as if you had a whole bunch of people, and it's like everybody there. It's simple to get to know 15 people. A lot
Right.
more than it is to get a couple of dozen.
Yeah, and we do some pretty deep work there. We're not
Yeah.
just sightseeing. We go and we do sacred ceremony, and we work with the energy of the temples, and we work with our own energy, and we're anointing and doing ritual. And I mean,
I want you to go more into detail about that, anointings and rituals. Like what type of a ritual?
well, so we have the potential, every one of us, to connect with the various levels of consciousness that are available here on the planet, right? So now we're sort of moving into the priestess archetype, a little bit off of the queen archetype, right? So in the queen book, I work with the 7 body chakras, but there's a whole nother set of 7 chakras that are non-body chakras that connect us to the cosmos. And so when you go to rimabonario.com into the shop, you'll see you can order the body chakras, and there's another set called the cosmic chakras. And when you start to work with those oils, now you are connecting with the energies that are universal and cosmic, that are actually here to support us. And if you work with the 2 sets together, Gamal, my teacher there in Egypt, taught me that a protocol for opening what's called the 7 gates. And when you open these 7 gates, you actually have the ability to connect with all of the support and universal energy that's available and has always been meant to be available for us. And these are oils like the higher chakra set has papyrus, myrrh, frankincense, Nile flower, carnation, golden water, flower of sakara in it. These are oils that we've known for millennia have very, very special powers. And when you have your full body set and your body chakras are in alignment and working really well and playing well together, you can bring that potent energy all the way down into your body and move from the place of just like creating a sort of a good human life to having a magical, mystical life that is just the life of your dreams. Like, this is the life I'm living now. I mean, I travel to all these incredible, amazing places and get to take women with me to do this incredible work. And I watch their lives change and their relationships change and their circumstances change. It's the most holy work. I'm so honored to get to do that. And this is what's available for us when we have the faith and are willing to take that leap into the unknown, and really work with someone who can guide us along the way.
Definitely. Now, do you believe, now you mentioned Dharma before, okay? So people always, don't understand what Dharma is. Everybody knows what karma is, but, they don't really fully understand Dharma. And this is a Dharmic path here. So I want to ask you about Dharma. And I also want to say, do you work with ancestors, past lives type things? Does that come up in your teachings or rituals?
So I'll talk about your first question first. So we haven't named the 7 queens yet. So let me do that. So when we're talking about our spiritual sovereignty in the crown chakra, we're working with the divine queen. She's the one who's on the cover of the book.
Right.
When we're talking about, we go then from there into mental sovereignty, which is this one in the upper left. She is the visionary queen, and she helps us open our intuition. With the crown chakra, the challenge there is attachment. And with the visionary queen, the challenge is illusion. So then we move into the throat chakra. This is this one with the beautiful voice coming out. This is where the expressive queen lives, and her domain is our dharmic expression. She is all about our medicine that we give to the world. And so when I talk about Dharma, let me sort of finish out the queens, and I'll come back to the expressive queen. So then we move into the heart. She's not on this one, the loving queen. We're missing her in this set of images here. And then down into the solar plexus, we have the empowered queen. That's the yellow one there. Going a little lower into the sacral chakra, we have the passionate queen, which activates our life force energy and our Shakti. And then this one beautiful Hawaiian goddess seated on the ground, that is our grounded queen. And she helps us connect in with the earth. And so we need all of these queens working in unison together. But when we come back up here to the expressive queen, this is where the idea of Dharma comes in place. And Dharma is a way of talking about your nature. So
this is the one I missed.
Yeah, there she is. So if you flip to the expressive queen, you'll see we talk about there that it's the Dharma of fire to be hot, right? Fire just cannot help but being hot. That is its nature. And when we are able to find out what our Dharma is, what is it that we can't help but be, that can become the foundation of what our gift is to give to the world, what our medicine is in the world. And then we learn how to own it. We own our voice, we own our magic, we own our medicine, and we learn that not only is it okay for us to express who we are, but it's what we are responsible for doing in the world. The world needs our medicine. And nobody can give the medicine that we have that's our unique medicine. And so I really feel like over some of the millennia that we've been in some of the darkest times where the feminine and women have been subverted, right? So that the patriarchal forms of power can thrive, because when we are aligned with our Dharma and all in our power, in the juicy, raw nature of our power, we're unstoppable. We're not controllable. We're not, we can't be pressured into being a certain kind of woman that fits a particular mold. We carve our own path. And we also won't stand for the kinds of things that happen when we come together in community. And so this is the work that we're doing in the world, is to gain that back, right? To gain back our power.
Definitely. We've been fighting for that for God knows how long, and it just never ends, And that's right. That's why I asked you, do men feel threatened by you? Because as soon as a woman becomes empowered, a man wants to stomp it out.
Well, one of the ways that we're changing the way we do power is by doing it in this feminine embodied way. And what I've learned is that men actually are craving women embodied and present in their feminine nature. They need it too. They need it too because they have had their own feminine parts of them disavowed as well, and
Yeah.
they're dying from it just as well. We can't confuse patriarchy with men. They're two different things, right? Patriarchy is a system of oppression that oppresses men as well as women,
Yeah.
and it's so there's lots of women that take advantage of patriarchy, not maybe as many as men, but that's only because they've been the ones controlling the power.
Programmed like that for their whole lives, and if they
Exactly.
survive in that field, politics,
Right.
you want to survive in that field, then they have to be that way, but they don't. And I think
Well,
the more women that are getting into, positions of power in the government, in the infrastructure itself, is what we really need to break that.
so that's true that that's happening over there. And simultaneously, the other thing that's happening is women like you and I who are creating our own path, and we are building our own futures, and we are creating our own structures outside of the existing power structures. And
Yeah.
and we need to have both of those things happening. Buckminster Fuller, who was just an amazing philosopher, who said, the fastest way to change a system is not to try to break it down and tear it down, or not even to try to change it from the inside. It's to create a new structure that makes the old one obsolete. And then everybody just naturally jumps to the new system because, well, nobody wants to be left behind, right? And part of what's happening in our world right now is this is some of my favorite conversations to have. That the masculine form of power and expression is sort of like what we call command and control, right? There's a hierarchy, there's an order, and we need that in times of incredible chaos. Like you need to have
You
command
have to have
structure.
structure, you have to have rules and regulations and things like that, and enforcement and
Absolutely.
all that. Yes, because
Right.
otherwise, left to our own devices, people love chaos.
So what happens when we have just that is it can come in and deal with a crisis, some crises, not all crises. It can be helpful. But once the main thing has, the storm has gone through, there's all the rebuilding that has to happen. And that's left to the menders and the tenders, which tends to be women. And we do that work by networking, by being in community, by creating greater resiliency, by supporting one another. We don't have competition. We don't need hierarchical structures. We need egalitarian structures to do that, where the rising tide lifts all boats. And the problem with what we're seeing now is the struggles that we face as a human family. We can't kill our way out of a pandemic. You can't kill your way out of climate change.
Yeah.
We have to cooperate our way out of these things. And that is a
And
feminine
it
principle.
was kind of proven when COVID hit that the world could get together on something.
Absolutely. Right. That was a massive gift from that we watched the world come together and see, oh, wow, we can turn on a dime if we really, really need to, if it feels really imminent. And so these are things we need, these feminine qualities of leadership to be available, not just for women that, quote, infiltrate the existing structures, but for the men who are there as well. And so we need to look for and vote for leaders of both genders that show the capacity for complex thinking, for systems theory, for networking approaches, and who have more of an open-hearted nature and are not running around in this tough guy energy.
Like thing, like you do it my way and that's it.
Well, the big challenge we're seeing with the polarization right now, not just in the United States, but in a lot of places, is really an archetypal battle that's going on between the strong father archetype that's on its way out and the loving great mother energy that's on its way in. And we've just moved into the age of Aquarius in a big way. And I'm telling you, we may not get to see the fullness of that in our lifetime, but it is coming. There is no amount of resistance that is going to stop that from happening.
We've done a lot of prep
Very true.
leading up to this, when that transition hit, when we hit the age of Aquarius for real. And it's like, I really think without internet, without things like this, without books like this, without this, it wouldn't happen. But I believe that it truly is on a global scale because people are connecting from all over the place. People in the chat room, just say where you're from. Because, I mean, it is amazing when you see where all these people are coming from that are watching a show, that are learning with you, that are expressing their opinions, that are doing all that. But that energy is traveling and it will connect us all, and we talk about that a lot.
Yes.
And it definitely is happening. We need it, but it would not happen without things like this.
Well, we need way showers, we need support systems. The thing about the feminine is that the masculine can be very effective as a single point because it's that hero/heroine energy, like it's the single actor energy. The feminine is in its best expression, united in community. And so, we may not feel safe alone walking as a woman down the street, and if there's someone that wants to harm us, but if we're in a group and we're embodied and in our power, you can't touch us. And when we began to turn on each other, that's when there were lots of reasons, I believe, in the mystical understandings I have of the way we've been and what we've been doing over the last couple of thousand years. But we really are moving into a new cycle now. And it's all about finding our sisters and turning on our latent priestess queen capacities and stepping into the power of who we are in our essence, and what it is that we absolutely belong to each other. We belong to each other. We belong together. And what we are creating together is a whole new world.
Oh, I love that. We did Mary Jane, she comes on and does oracle card pulls with us too. She's amazing. I love her. She says, we did a bubble meditation this morning, 2 hearts, envisioning releases thousands of bubbles with peace, love, and kindness everywhere. And that is amazing too, because that is what helps. Just thinking it and putting your energy out there, it spreads. And then, a smile, all right, that's universal language. I don't care what language you speak. When you smile at someone, they will smile back at you, and it comes from a place of love and a place of compassion and a place of healing. And, it's your attitude, it's your mental state, and it's infectious. And that is the state that we need in the world today.
Yeah, I'm so glad you brought up the state of being, because at its core, that's what my work does, is brings all these different tools together to help women be masters of their own state of being, right? So that the state we're in, isn't dependent on what the people in our room or the space or our bosses or our spouses or the news is saying. We are able to hold our state and our vibrational frequency at will, at choice. We may not be perfect, but we are really darn good at it, and we can bounce back quickly when our state gets a little bit off. And this is what it means to be a sovereign, empowered woman. And this is where all the aliveness is. All of life is when we choose the state that we get to live in, and we choose to be juicy and engaged and open and available.
Right. And you can have all those things. And you do talk about it, even sex. I mean, that is like huge. A lot of people, a lot of women that I knew that I, grew up with and everything, you bring up that topic and they're like, oh, and it's like, what do you mean? This is the most natural thing on the planet. There wouldn't be any people if we didn't have sex, right? But it is intimate.
Those are all part of the leftovers from the idea of making anything that has to do with the creation of life shameful, so that we don't know and don't embrace the beauty of what we are as women, as the life givers on this planet.
I know, huh? It is amazing. It's just, you know, creation of life is amazing. We can't help, like I always say, I have my two children, my two daughters. I have an angel and a devil. It's just, I don't know what happened. But we do the best that we can with them. Your daughter must be amazing, if she goes along with the things with you onto these programs and has worked with you. She must be.
She's one of the most incredible people I know, seriously. And she's finding her own way as well. She's got to figure out exactly what that expression looks like for her. But what we did, we tried very hard not to damage her sense of sovereignty, but to treat her like a sovereign being and offer her choices and guidance rather than telling her what to do, what to think, who to be, and instead to really support and nourish the parts of her that were showing up as who she was. And so I just love her to pieces and completely enjoy her company. When she was a teenager, we used to go through these periods where we'd think, do you think this is going to be the year where we're going to stop getting along? And we had the occasional challenge, but we've managed. She's 19 now and off at college, and we are just thick as thieves. And I'm just so blessed.
Oh, that is great. Yes, my angel and I, we get along great. We are so creative together. We can just, the things that, it's endless what we can do and what we can create. And the other one sets off every trigger, just like all those things. Everything that's in this book, which is one of the reasons why I really need this book, is probably things like how I used to be is how she is, and that the things I don't like,
Well, and just know that she's an angel too, who's come into your life to show you some places that are still wounded and need a little bit of help and attention. And the thing is that when we can respond lovingly to ourselves and be gracious to ourselves when we have these triggering moments, and learn to be kinder to ourselves and the younger part of us that goes into that fight flight response, then we build the capacity to be loving and kind towards the person that stepped on the landmine, right? Because we know that that's part of how life unfolds, and we know that the only way out is through, and love is the track on which we are able to move through.
Right. And she's got my absolute love of my life, my grandson, and he's going to be 5, and oh my God, I just love him to death. I just got him. He calls me Grandma Fox. Right? He's so adorable. So I keep giving him foxes every time I go, And I said I have had medical issues, and I was just at the hospital. Of course, we have to go into the little gift shop, and they had a little fox. It was the Tooth Fairy fox, and it's got a little pocket on it with Tooth Fairy. So he's going to get that next time I see him when I go up there.
That's sweet.
And I'm like, I just had to mention that, that's my shiny ball moment, my fox moment. I had to tell the little story, but it is the cutest thing. I've never seen one of those fox. You're muted, Mama. A Tooth Fairy fox, but that is the bridge that's between the gap with me and her.
Nice.
So at least I have something to work with. When I go, and it's like I could just take Jake, go into the other room, and come on, let's go away from mommy. And I hate to say that, but it is true, and this is definitely when I did see the parts in this book about this situation, and I'm like, I need it.
Well, let's talk. Let's talk more once you get through the book about options, and I'd be happy to come back anytime to talk about parenting is a whole nother topic. How we support our children in having their own path, with and find ways to separate our sense of self from who they are, so that we don't, whatever life choices they make, it's a little hard because it's like your heart, is out of your body, and you want them to be happy, but we have to also recognize that it's not our job to interfere with their soul journey, right? We can offer our best advice when it's asked for, only. Once
Yeah.
they get to a certain age, we have to not give advice unless it's asked for. And we can pray for them and we can hold the high watch for them. We can say the Ho'oponopono prayer, which is a beautiful way to do that. We can clean up our own energy. And you asked me about ancestral work.
Right.
I do one-on-one sessions, healing sessions, and we do this in all my programs, and I have them available for those who just want a session directly with me on the website as well. And in those sessions, we absolutely do the work to go back and find the origination moment where those unhealed hurts started, but we also clean the line up back into the history of all the ancestors, and then we clean the line up forward down line so that we can remove from our children all of the crap that got flowed down through the line through us into them without our awareness, in their DNA, in their psychology, in whatever it is that's been our soul path that sort of spilled onto them. We can clean all of that up. And I have seen unbelievable miracles happen in the lives of people who've had programs that were running, that were keeping them from having the kinds of relationships they wanted to have with their parents and ancestors and with their children.
Right. I mean, oh my God. I think you're amazing. I would love to work one on one with you. You know, with that. Mary Jane said, I need that. It's like, yeah, oops, sorry, I hit the wrong one. But yeah, we all need that. I seriously don't know anybody that doesn't. I really don't. You know, and my children, they're in their 40s now. You know, so they're a lot older. But this could have saved a lot of grief in the younger, especially teenage years, you know?
And I want to say it's never too late to have a good relationship. I mean, I've had clients who were estranged from their parents, have those relationships come back together. I've had clients who were dealing with children who were suicidal or who were into drugs and alcohol, other kinds of addictions, and have all of that resolve. I've had clients who've had illnesses that quote magically disappeared, because we got at the things that were underneath those things.
Yeah.
Relationships, marriages that were falling apart that became better than ever. I mean, it's really remarkable what happens when we work with the whole person, with their soul, with their energy body, with their physical body, and with their psychology. And we can do rapid shifts, things that therapy cannot even touch.
Yeah.
Right. But you also have that background too. So, you have that knowledge. So that's a plus. That's definitely in the plus category. But then those people, when people go to therapists and the stuff, and it's like, well, it's so clinical. It's this, write a prescription and see you later. And
when we talk about our trauma, the most positive thing that happens from talking about trauma in a therapeutic setting is that we can reduce the shame, because we're bringing it into the light. And the shame is debilitating when we feel like we have to hide who we are. We have to hide our foibles. We have to hide our failures, the things that we think are wrong. Once we can actually start talking about the family secrets and the knots we felt inside, we do get to have some relief. But actually shifting the patterns that those beliefs have created in our neural net, in our brain function, and that live inside the body. Trauma has actually lived in the body. To shift that, we need to get into the body and move things through the body. And I'm so delighted to see that the recent understandings that are coming out of polyvagal theory and the new brain science, somatic release work, you're seeing a lot of that. It's all beginning to help people see, we can treat PTSD. We can treat depression and anxiety. We can treat your garden variety challenges with moving energy through the body.
not this.
Not that. Yes. And not years and years and years in therapy, but in a much speedier, much more thorough way. Somebody posted earlier a comment about doing EMDR. That's another great tool for working with the body by using the eyes to get to the brain. And anytime we don't fully understand something, we just either dismiss it or call it magic, right? Magic is just science that hasn't been proven yet. And this is what we have the opportunity to do, is to actually change our nature, to change the things that aren't working. This is why I say I love to teach women new, wildly fulfilling habits of attention, right? It's
Yep.
all about where we're putting our attention. And
Yep.
we've been putting our attention very often on the things that are causing us pain.
It's a vicious cycle. It truly is, because you don't know that you're in this insane circle until someone starts to work with you. You get it pointed out to you, and then it's obvious, and then you can get out of that. But when it's embedded in you and ingrained in you, of course that's what we do. That's why we keep doing the same thing over and over again. Yeah. So that was Sharon that did mention that.
Yes, healing the inner child, Sharon. Absolutely. I mean, that's really that's part of our work. Where those little girls that we were still exist. They still exist, and most of the time, if we haven't done any of this work, that's who's driving the bus. We got our 4-year-old or our 7-year-old or our 12-year-old driving the bus, and we wonder why our life is in the ditch. And my first attempts at this was, I thought I was just going to kick them all off. I'm just kicking you off. I don't want any of you here. Get off. And then I discovered, no, that wasn't going to work. And later down the road, I had to pick them back up and put them back on the bus. But they sit back there. There's only 2 people allowed to drive my bus: my soul self, or my higher self, and my adult self when she's in a good space. And when I notice that one of the others has jumped in and is driving the bus, I have to hit the pause button, because
Kick him out, open the door, pull that thing, get out.
no, I just tell them, look, I love you, but this is not your place. Just go sit in the back. We'll chat later. You don't get to drive. And it's really my job to give those parts of me what they need. And I like to think about it like this: the world is always going to hurt them, because the world, yes, exactly, Sharon. The world is not going to apologize to our younger selves for us. We have to do that. And then it's our job to stand between the world and those more vulnerable pieces of who we are. They're not designed to meet the world. They're not designed to meet the world. We have to be the breach, the safety mechanism. And so I don't want my inner little girl having a tantrum, talking to my husband. I mean, that's happened enough times for me to know that's not going to go very well.
Yeah.
So when she's angry and upset, that part of me is angry and upset and is sort of wanting to act out. I have to pause and turn toward it and say, sometimes I even imagine her coming and sitting up in my lap, and I just hold her and I say, what is it you need right now? What's going on? What is happening here? And we have a really strong relationship now. So I can hear her, and she might say, well, I'm tired, or I'm lonely, or I'm scared, or I'm angry. And whatever it is she's feeling is welcome. You are welcome to feel all of that. And I'm holding you. And when my little girl felt me not rejecting her for having all of those feelings that got rejected when she was younger, that got told she wasn't allowed to have any of that, and she better just, straighten up, and, oh, you thought that smack hurt? Let me give you another smack. That's one's going to hurt, right? All of that, right?
Yeah.
So we learned
it's going to hurt me more than it's going to hurt you.
Yeah, all that crap. We learned to push all that stuff down. And so we have to welcome that stuff back up and make space for it and love it back into wholeness. And, the hardest one for me was when I met my inner mean girl. The voice that was so critical. And anytime I felt the slightest bit sad or any of those things, she would come in and say, don't be such a weenie. Don't be such a wimp. Why, you just need to get over it. You just need to, because she learned that it wasn't safe to be needy and to have needs. So she decided that the best strategy was to pretend I didn't have any. And as I began to excavate this stuff and do this work, boy, her voice got really loud. And one day I was just in this really tizzy, this difficult place, and up came that voice, and she was just ripping me to shreds. I was driving in the car and I had to pull over, and I stopped the car and I said, look, I know you're doing this and saying all this crap to me because you think it's what's going to help me be safe. And somehow I had the presence of mind from all the work I'd been doing to say, It doesn't feel good what you're doing, but I love you anyway. And I know that you're the part of me that actually needs love the most. So
Yep.
guess what? Guess what? Even though you're being mean right now, I love you. I love you. I love you. And this little dam just broke, and I just cried and cried and cried. And from that day on, I was able to really begin to develop a powerful relationship with that really, really scared part of me that tried to keep me safe by making me do none of the wrong things, by using her criticism to have me on this tiny little straight and narrow path so I wouldn't get hit, spanked, yelled at, all the things. And of course, none of that was happening in my life as an adult, but she didn't know that. She didn't know
Yeah.
that.
Right.
And literally changed everything.
It's amazing. You're amazing. I love you.
Freaking amazing.
I love you too. I think
I
this
was
is
like,
a great
okay,
love
I
fest
want to,
here.
I want to do everything you just said, and I already want to cry because I'm already hearing my little people in the back going, ah. It's like, okay,
I know.
just
I'm
let
trying
me
to
go.
read the book when I go to bed. I'm just like, usually I go like,
I'm gonna order it.
on
It's
my
on Amazon.ca.
yeah, and I'm just like,
Yeah.
I'm not even gonna do that. I'll share the show. I'll do that, but I'm gonna go to bed. I'm gonna take the book with me, and I'm just gonna just dive
We're
right in.
gonna work on ourselves.
Come home to yourself, come home to the great mother's love that is available to you and all the parts of you, through your own soul self. And that soul self is completely incorruptible. Yeah, so even when something like a rape trauma occurs, we can find that place in us that can hold that space for that wounded piece, that part of us that no person on this planet is capable of touching because it's so pure and so pristine. And we can find our way back there again and back into that place of wholeness and love so that we are not that incident that occurred to us. We are not that trauma or that moment where our parents lost their shizzle on us, or where someone lashed out and attacked us, or we don't have to live as that identity anymore. We are recohered to the truth of our identity, which is that we are divine beings wrapped in skin, walking on this earth.
Yeah, exactly. And the thing is, one of the things that I know that I do is that I've buried the stuff of my childhood so deep that sometimes I sit there and wonder, going, did that really happen, or was that just something that was made up? Because as a child, I was told, "Oh, you've got such a vivid imagination," and I can pull that one thing back out that was said to me, and I was like, so now it's like, is it just my imagination, or did it? So there's going to be a lot of work in my future.
Yeah, so you will want to work particularly with your third eye chakra and the visionary queen around that. One of the things that damages our ability to trust ourselves and our perception and our intuition is when we had parental figures tell us that what we're seeing or experiencing isn't real or is just made up. And it starts to cloud that chakra, and it ends up causing us struggles. I'm just curious if you ever have migraines or dizzy spells or headaches or anything along those lines, or eye problems. Sometimes, yeah. So sometimes that damage in the chakra manifests in our physical form.
Well, I have a lot of solar plexus going on right now. Like, so this is where I need to concentrate. It's like this acid is just eating me up. It's like,
Digestive issues. Yeah.
It's just burning me up inside.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You want that fire to serve you, not burn you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. You said that right at the beginning of the show, and I was like, yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
We only have about 10 minutes left. I would like to talk about your necklace.
Your necklace, yes.
Oh, yes. So one of the things that I have helped women understand, and this is, you can go to my website, and in addition to the free gifts that we're sharing here, there's a page actually called Gifts on my website where there's a bunch of free stuff that you can look at. So rimabonario.com/gifts. And and you can just, there's a bunch of different things you can sign up for, like this other one that we shared. And in it, there's a talk that I gave in a summit about the 4 sabotaging archetypes, right? So we've been talking about the queen. She's the answer. And what is she the answer to? Thank you. She's the answer to the dilemma of being the princess, the good girl, the superwoman, or the rebel. Those are 4 archetypes that we have tended to inhabit instead of the queen. And so when I was teaching this and working on this body of work about understanding, when we show up in the princess, what that's like, we show up in the good girl, what she does and what's that like, the superwoman and everything. I had a section there related to power. And because I love myth and archetype, it's so useful to have these metaphors. I likened our power to a dragon. So the princess doesn't have a relationship with the dragon. She just kind of like, oh, it's not mine, I don't know. She doesn't have a relationship with her power, right? So the dragon just flies willy-nilly anywhere, blowing things up, burning things, and she just like, oh, it's not my responsibility. She doesn't know how to be empowered with the dragon. The good girl, on the other hand, she cleans up after the dragon. She shovels its crap and she cleans it, and she's always, feeding it. And she's just a slave to the dragon, right?
Yep.
And then the superwoman is like constantly doing battle with the dragon. So she's like singed and wounded because she's exhausted because she's fighting the massive dragon all the time. Whereas the rebel, there are some women who move into rebel. That was always too scary for me. But they grab the dragon and they go, okay, over here, burn up that, burn up that, burn up that, right? Because they just want to destroy because they're so upset. And the queen, she partners with the dragon.
Yeah.
Right.
She rides the dragon in the same way that you remember in Avatar when they would hook in to their mounts, yes. Right? And they become a symbiotic relationship, right? Yep. And that's how the queen is with her power. She uses her dragon to help her run her territory, and she's very conscious and cognizant. And so I love to wear this dragon piece that I got on pilgrimage in France. I found it in this tiny little bookshop there in Rennes-le-Château. And it just spoke to me because this is what we're doing here. We are seeking to get into proper relationship with our dragon energy, with our power as priestesses and as women on the planet. We don't need to be afraid of the dragon. We don't need to serve the dragon. We don't need to fight the dragon. We need to be in communion with the dragon and be the dragon riders of the world that are here to make the world a better place. That's really what we get to do.
Yeah. So I'm if I can grab them, they're heavy. All right. We have Darian Relier. Okay. And she's written all of these books. There's
dragons.
Yeah, there's all dragons. Search for the Weird Rich. See the dragon, and they have Death of Life. Her mind is amazing. It's like when you start reading the book 1, and you get into the story, you think it's one thing, and you find out that it's totally not that. But they have that thing with the dragons, and they have like the training session going on. So there's the people that are falling off the dragons that are refusing to work, and they're getting swooped down, they're getting tossed off, all this kind of stuff. And it's like when you read these books, you think of it in your mind just like a movie. She's set it up just like a movie.
Yeah, and what I love so much about this analogy is that it shows us that we have to retrain ourselves, right? This isn't something that's going to happen overnight. This is what it means to be maturing as a woman, is to grow in relationship to our power in a way that we're not being irresponsible like a child anymore, and we're not running around like a slave or a servant anymore. We're not misusing our power or trying to fight ourselves over our power. We are in alignment with our power. And so for anyone who's listening and who hasn't yet taken the step to begin investing in your own development, in your own education, in your own healing, there is nothing more important in the world right now than doing that. And I am a big believer in that. I mean, I sit in 3 different circles. I have my own mentors. I invest in myself continually because there's a lot more to do. There's a lot more to grow and incorporate and integrate. I'm just beginning.
Yep,
Yeah, exactly.
it is.
Just a quick note of the things that you give away. When I put a link for the gift part of your website on in the chat rooms, the first thing that just sort of caught my attention was the remembrance meditation.
Yeah.
I think
That's a beautiful experience. It's a meditation that I gave just shortly after I got back from my last trip to Egypt. So I was really tuned in. And I might have even done an anointing there in the process. I just did an anointing, a free anointing. If you're on my list or you're following me on Facebook, you'll know when I'm doing these things. I did one for the new moon in Aries. That was super powerful. You know, we're starting a brand new 3-year cycle and actually a 22-year cycle, but this sort of makes our head spin. So right now we're in a portal this month, right? So make some choices, ladies. If you are listening here and any of this is resonating with you, make some choices about what you want to call into your life for the next 3 years. Now is the time to set that intention and plant those seeds to really own your feminine power, to learn that you don't have to be in push mode anymore, that you can soften, that you can magnetize, that you can flow, that you can have days that are full of joy and ease and bliss and delight and still be make money, and have support. And you know, you can do these things. We can do these things together.
Yeah.
I love it.
So everybody go to her site, sign up to her website. It's just get your asses over there and get the book because that's where we start.
And she's going to Egypt next year. I want to sign up. And
yeah, you better come. You all stay in touch, right?
Oh, hell yeah.
Oh, you haven't figured out that once you've part of the you've been on the bus and you are part of it. I only came here as a couple to co-host for a couple of shows. That was like 3 years ago now.
I love it.
Yeah.
Relative to my chair.
Yeah, Athena was a guest on our show, and now she does our Crystal of the Week segment. You know, so I mean, yeah, I only bring people on the show that I know will help people. You know, and that's our lot in life. This is how we contribute is bring people like you.
We know that 99.9% of our guests, we have had a couple that are a little, but we didn't know until they came onto the show. But the 99.9% of the guests on our show will reach out to and help at least one person. We know that that's our goal, is to help at least one person. We know that there's always more than one, but our goal is one person's to be helped. And we know that we do that in every show.
Mary Jane, thanks you for your time. And Beth, I love you, Beth. She's another psychic friend of mine. She's going to be helping us in our Penhurst. Oh, I have to self-promote here for one quick second. Okay. Our Penhurst Paracon, I think the last batch of the VIP tickets went up for sale. Don't know if they're sold out yet. They might be. This is a massive event, people. So if you haven't gotten your tickets or your rooms or anything like that yet, you better get on the ball, because we have there's going to be about 4,000 people going through there. So massive event. Very much looking forward to it, and Beth will be helping us. So that's going to be nice too. But we deal with, like, I do paranormal things, so obviously you saw that.
I can see that. That just looks really exciting.
Yeah. So we work in the paranormal. We have Ghost Detectives TV, and we have Ghostly Excursions, where we take people on ghost hunts. And a lot of this comes into play with that. You know, you have to be centered. You have to be level-headed. You have to, be in tune to protect people that are going with you, just like you do for your young and upcoming priestesses and me, because I'm going to be like all over the place going, oh, here we go. So you have to rein it in, right? I have to do that for the paranormal, So, I mean, I get that, but yeah, I turn into an instant little girl when I get into someplace that's amazing, like Egypt or Italy. I mean, what a person to go there with than you.
You're going to have to hold her down. She's going to be like a helium
No, we're
balloon
gonna lift
in the
her
wind
up and
storms.
let her go.
Oh, good Lord.
We want you up there in that beautiful,
Countries
excited,
may not let us back in. But yeah.
excited space. So yeah, good. More to come. More to come. More to
Oh
come.
my God, that would be amazing. I thank you so very much for sharing your wisdom.
Amazing.
Actually,
Thank
I
you.
am so glad I have not read the book yet. You
Well,
know,
it's been my pleasure. And I hope that as you are able to get in and read it as you're recovering, that you will definitely give me feedback, because I always love hearing how the book is landing for people, what parts they enjoy, what they'd like to have that isn't in there, what else they would like to do. And yeah, if they
also,
want to come along to Egypt, and absolutely.
oh yeah,
Yeah. Beth wants to go to Egypt.
Well, Beth, there's space for you
let's
too.
go. Let's go. I definitely want to go. There's no doubt about it. So I'm going to get on the list and everything, the email list, and you know, uh, stalker. Yeah, maybe a little bit.
Yeah, so I will say, if you really are feeling it that Egypt is right for you, when you get an email from me, just write me back. We're building a list of people that are sort of already expressing interest, so that we can let you know first before we open it to the bigger group. So if
Yeah.
that's really calling to you, let me know, and you'll get first chance to sign up.
Okay. Now, do we have to book our own planes and everything else to get there? And we meet there, or how do we do it?
Yeah, we help you. We have a recommendation. The flight's not included in the tour, but we have a recommendation for how to easily get there. You are met from the moment you arrive. You are in company and held and completely guided for the entire time you're with us. And from beginning to end, it is spectacular. And let me just tell you, the Egyptian people are so beautiful, so wonderful, so welcoming. They are so happy to feel when the spiritual journeyers that come over, they know what's there. The people that work with us are very, very spiritual, and they are so happy to guide us through these experiences that are awakening us to our powers.
Oh, well, awesome. Well, I can't wait to see what you come up with next too, because you're just amazing, and I truly do love you. We are after 10, so I'm going to have to say buonanotte, everybody, and we love you very much. Please share the show, and we will see you next week, next Thursday. Hang here for a minute, okay, Dr. Rima. Thank you so much for joining us for another episode of the Fox Den with Gina B and Mama D. We are here every Thursday evening from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, bringing you a variety of guests. We stream live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch, as well as all our Anchor FM venues. We hope you enjoyed our show, our guest, and our featured Crystal of the Week segment with Athena Bari, and we would also appreciate it and love it if you would go to our YouTube channel, The Fox Den with Gina B and Mama D, subscribe, like, and definitely hit that notification button to never miss a show. We'll see you all next week, and subscribers, watch for our pop-up shows as well.